If you're not informed,
if you don't know where you come from, you will never find where you're going.
When Nigeria is working, we will all know.
PDP and us are diametrically opposed.
Sahara TV, now them be the TV, the best TV, for information, education, inspiration. Sahara TV, they get
I am from Sahara TV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Information, education, inspiration. Sahara TV, they get mouth, they get mouth.
Hi viewers, welcome back to Sahara TV. My name is Adiola Fayon and this is our inspiration segment where we like to talk with Africans here in the US and even outside the US that we think they are doing great things that are inspirational. And we like to highlight that and bring them up for you to hear their stories and also be inspired by their stories. And today the inspiration guest that we have in our studio is named Farai Simoyi, who was born in London, but her parents are from Zimbabwe. So she's a Zimbabwean, but also a Londoner, right. And now a New Yorker because she lives in New York. But she's an award-winning designer who now lives in New York. She has her own line, which she recently launched in Zimbabwe. Right. And you have your line here in the US as well.
Yes.
So please welcome to Sahara TV.
Thank you so much for having me.
So Farai, let's start from the beginning. How did all this begin? Have you always known you're gonna be a designer someday, or did something happen that you were like, I think I should be a designer?
You know, when I was young, growing up in Zimbabwe, my aunt actually had a lingerie company. So, you know, she had a whole studio and like a manufacturing studio. So she would always have scraps of fabric laying around. And she was the one that just told us kids to go play in the fabrics, and I would start sewing like dresses for myself and dresses for my dolls.
From when you were young?
When I was young, when I was around 5, 6 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, I just loved being creative as a child, and I loved art, and I loved sewing, and I loved knitting. But honestly, I never thought about making it a career until I was older, until I was an adult. So
how did it happen that it eventually became a career? Did you decide to go to school for this, or what happened? Well,
actually, I went to school at West Virginia University, and I started there as a psychology major until my sophomore year of college. And I remember waking up one morning and just being like, I need to change my major. And I just found myself in the fashion department speaking to a brand new advisor and saying, you know, this is what I want to do. And she's like, are you sure? I mean, you were just in psychology. It's, you know, two completely different things. And I'm like, you know what? I just feel it in my heart. I feel like I'll be happy doing this. So it was about my sophomore year in college at West Virginia that I decided that I would study design and study fashion. And that's sort of where, you know, I realized that this is exactly what I wanted to do.
I think you make a great decision to go after something that you're passionate about.
Right.
I think a lot of people today go to school and don't really do what they enjoy doing.
Right.
And it's nice that even though it took a year, you eventually went after what you love to do, and now you're established doing this.
Right.
So let me ask, apart from your aunt, what are other inspirations and, you know, playing in fabrics and stuff when you were growing up, knowing how to, what are some of the inspirations? Like, did anybody else ever talk to you about this, or is there someone that you look up to that I would like to be like this person?
Well, you know, starting with inspiration, it started with my family, you know, with my aunt and then also my mother as well. I think, you know, growing up in Africa, sometimes, I think a long time ago, making clothing was more of a necessity. Like, everybody did it. You know, it wasn't, you know, uncommon to have all of your clothing made or you make it yourself.
It's still the case though, unless you're wearing some like ready-mades, you know.
Exactly.
Even in Nigeria, like what I'm wearing right now,
it's custom made.
I went to the tailor and they measured me and made it. But let's talk a little bit about one thing. You just brought up the case that in Africa, the case is you tailor whatever you want to wear. I want to bring up the fact that a lot of people are really creative back home.
Yes.
But the problem is but they don't go far. Is there something that I feel like there's something they are now seeing? It's like they're not even thinking about the fact that, you know what, I could have my own brand. I could be a designer, you know.
Right.
So what do you think is wrong in this picture? Because before you answer that, here in the US, if some people are as good as some of the tailors that we have back home, they would have become...
Oh my gosh. And you know what it is? I think also you have to look into how maybe their mindset isn't about being a designer, you know what I mean? But it is about doing my job and doing what I'm really good at doing.
And in reality, they are designing.
And they are designing. And that's the thing, you know, I think the spotlight is really on Africa right now in terms of fashion and arts. But it's like we in Africa have been designing and creating
a long time ago.
And people are just thinking that this is a new thing. Oh, there's new talent. There's always been talent. You know, so it's interesting, right? It's... I don't know how, I feel like the Western world, right, always wants to spotlight this one thing, and then it's like they're making it seem like they discovered it.
Or that they've influenced us.
Right.
I mean, I don't remember, like, growing up, all I remember is my mom comes home with fabric, and she's like, what style do you want? Whatever, you know. So, so like, individually, even though we don't, not everybody sews, right? But almost everybody in Africa designs. Because most people, when they go to the tailor, they tell the tailor, this is what I want you to sew for me. And it's not in the calendar. Like, they didn't look it up. They basically draw things out. And it comes out great.
Exactly.
You know? But we don't market that back home. I don't know why.
And I think we need to start standing up for ourselves a little more. I mean, especially with, there's a lot of like, even like Western publications here that are now writing stories and things about Africans, but it's like, I love how, you know, you have this show that's African and African inspired about Africans as well. So I just think we need to just start being a little more vocal and standing up for ourselves and saying, you know, we've been doing this longer than you guys have, so
I know.
You know.
Okay, so while we're on that, I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that even though this is something you love to do, this is like your passion and you went after it, I feel like sometimes it's not always rosy though. There has to be some challenges. Do you mind sharing some of this with us?
Yes, definitely being, you know, a newer upcoming designer, there's so many challenges that you face. I mean, things that you don't even think about, especially with little things like supply and demand. Right? So especially, you know, if you're making everything yourself when you start off, trying to, you know, get manufacturers and people to produce your clothing, especially at like smaller minimums, you know, because they're used to working with bigger designers and
people who have already made the name.
Exactly. And so, you know, some challenges that I'd faced in the past is, you know, you put some stuff in a store, everything sells, the store's calling you, we need more. You know, supply and demand. So, I mean, those are some things, you know, more on the manufacturing side that you face. And, you know, just even things with feeling motivated all the time, you know?
What about being an African designer? How easy is it to pave your way here in the U.S. and you're an African, you know, and you're trying to make it here in the U.S.? How easy is that?
It's not easy. It's difficult because, you know, even though the world has become more forward and more open to things, you still have a lot of things working against you. First, you know, you're a woman. There's still things going on with women that, you know, you're trying to make it as entrepreneurs and successful businesswomen. Then, you know, you're black on top of it, right?
We are black.
Right? Then
but
you're African.
But black is beautiful.
Black is beautiful, but I'm just saying in this...
I know.
In this Western world.
It's for people who say, oh, they're black. I'm saying, well, black is beautiful.
Black is beautiful. Right, exactly. And it's, you know, and it's just things like going into, you know, executive meetings or business meetings and you're trying to get investors or, you know, propose ideas. You have
to buy into your product.
Exactly, exactly.
And what about having your line in Zimbabwe? I remember you were talking about the fact that people were saying that all your clothing are too expensive.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So whenever I went to Zimbabwe in the fall, this past fall, I was speaking to, you know, one of the store owners of the store saying, you know, this is my brand, I want to put it in here. And, you know, we just spoke back and forth and he was saying that, you know, I feel like your prices are a little too high because he was so used to, they're just all used to a certain market, not just him, but everybody's used to a certain market. And you know what I said? I don't want to compromise the brand. I just want to put it in there and just let's see how it does. And surprisingly, everything sold. Because, you know, I think people now are looking for something new, looking for something exciting. Not everybody wants everything from China, you know, and knockoffs and things like that. So people want exciting things, things that are new. So I was very excited to see that, you know, the pieces sold.
Did they ask you to bring more after that?
No, he hasn't yet. He hasn't yet, right?
But you sold everything.
I know, I sold everything. But you know what it is? It was a smaller store, a smaller boutique. And, you know, I love them for that because it was a really great platform. But actually right now I'm working on a bigger. Yeah. So it's because there's things in the works.
I like that.
But I really love the relationship that I did build with that company. So
I guess it all boils down to having confidence.
Yes.
In what you're doing.
Yes.
Because if you had said, well, maybe we should take down the price, you never know what could have happened. I mean, you will still sell, but it's like, you know, cheating yourself. So can you talk a little bit about people that are coming up? Can you look in the camera and talk to them, especially about having confidence in, you know, what they do, like believe in it. Right. Because some people are really doubting themselves. Right. So if you don't mind talking to some
you know, I mean, I touched on it just for a little bit about motivation. And you know, everybody thinks everybody that's successful always has 24/7 motivation. But there are times when you know, can feel a little overwhelmed, I want to say. But honestly, I mean, it sounds crazy to say, but I do have a voice in me every day that says you can do this, and this is what you're supposed to be doing. So if you are a believer and you have a dream and you want to go for that dream and you notice that you too have that voice inside of your head that always tells you that you can do this, then I'm telling you anything is possible. You know, I was, when I first moved to New York, I was working for House of Darion, which is Beyonce's clothing line. I was designing there. And I remember we were on the 17th floor and right over here in Times Square. And I just remember one day just looking out of the window and just seeing, you know, the taxi cars and just seeing the people walking down the street and just saying, wow, like, look at how far I've come and look at what I've been able to do. I'm Zimbabwean, you know, and, you know, my parents were raised in huts. Wow. But I'm here. So if that is possible, anything is possible. And you can do anything. So.
Right. And you've won awards. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the awards you've won?
Yeah, I was
very proud of you, by the way.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's hard to talk about yourself in that light, but I should brag a little, right?
You should. You've paid for it.
Right, you know? Right. Yeah, I recently won Designer of the Year award at the Africa Diaspora Awards. Yeah, it was such a great honor. I actually got a phone call from Debo, who's the editor of Applause, who owns Applause magazine, and he called me and he was like, I just wanted you to be the first to know, you know, we're giving you Designer of the Year award. And I'm just like, great, you know, okay, whatever, great, you know, thanks. And then he was like telling me about this big event that they were gonna do, and then when I get to the event, you know, I see you guys there, and I just
it was such a honor to meet that and we love the fact that it's just the beginning.
It's just
there
the beginning.
There will be more awards to come. So just keep looking out. So where do you see yourself in the future? What are you aiming after in the next 5 years? Where would we be hearing about the name Farai Simoyi?
Well, I mean, right now I'm building a business. You know, I'm building a full brand, and you know, I want the company to go so many different places. You know, I'm starting with clothing. I would love to go into accessories. I'd love to go into home goods. You know, there's a lot of things. So even
the sky is the limit.
The sky is the limit. You know, what you see is just it's my humble beginnings, and I really want to go places and definitely do a lot more with like different charity organizations and giving back.
I like that. People need to keep dreaming.
Right.
Don't ever settle down for where you are right now.
Right.
You can still be better, you can get higher. So the last thing I want you to do is just to inspire somebody today. Maybe someone is giving up on their dreams, or maybe they are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, even though they know this is really my talent. Right. So just, you know, a word of advice to whoever is listening today.
My advice to anybody, it doesn't have to be just design, but it's don't give up and believe in yourself. And the thing is, there's more people out there that will tell you that you can't do it than that will tell you that you can do it. So if you just I like to surround myself with other entrepreneurs, other designers, and other people doing big things, because then you have somebody to always look up to. So if you're hanging out with the wrong crew, you know,
change your friends.
Change your friends. You know, find people that will encourage you and support you. So don't give up, because the sky's the limit and you can do anything.
So Farai, can I, you know, model some of your...
Yes, you can. If you're serious though, because everybody always asks,
oh yeah,
can I model?
Yeah,
and then I
can model some
and then
of
they
your,
don't pick up my phone calls.
I'm modeling this right now. I mean,
you look awesome.
It looks good.
I love it. Okay, so next show, we're going to have a fresh model
that
here.
That has been the one and only Farai Simoyi. I'm sure that you've all enjoyed her time. So stay inspired, whatever the situation may be right now. If you have a dream, go after it. It's not easy, like she said, but eventually someday it will pay off. So that's our inspiration segment. So we have other segments coming up. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
If you're not informed,
If you don't know where you come from, you will never find where you're going.
When Nigeria is working, we will all know.
PDP and us are diametrically opposed.
SaharaTV, let them be the TV, the best TV, information, education, inspiration. SaharaTV,
I am from SaharaTV. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Information, education, inspiration.